Hi students, coming to the next class, microplasma. Remember in the last class we discussed about the reproduction within eubacteria, whatever that asexual reproduction is there and pseudo-sexual reproduction is there, both these are discussed, right? And coming to the next topic means whatever that archaebacteria is there, we discussed first one, right? And next one is the eubacteria. And third one is the mycoplasma, and the last one is the actinomycetes, and these are the subtypes which are included in the kingdom Monera, right? So here the mycoplasma, these are the bacteria strange from remaining bacteria. These are the bacteria which are very strange from remaining all bacteria, because these bacteria are not having the cell walls. Remember, we know animal cells which are not having the cell wall, and these are the bacteria. Okay, the mycoplasma bacteria also not having the cell wall. See, these bacteria especially maintain the shape by the plasma membrane only. Plasma membrane only. Remember, these organisms also, these organisms also not showing the particular shape because these are not having the cell walls. That's the reason why constant shape is not maintained by these organisms. I will explain. Coming to the next one, these are the smallest organisms. Actually, see, the mycoplasma, the size is 0.3 micrometers. I mentioned in the table in the cell biology concept, right? Here, whatever that the mycoplasma bacteria is there, 0.3 micrometers. And remember, these are the organisms, smallest living organisms in the world. Smallest living organisms in the world. Because, see, whatever the TPLO, plural pneumonia-like organisms are there, these organisms, the size is 0.1 micrometer size. Remember, the mycoplasma bacteria size is 0.3 micrometers. Definitely, no doubt. Again, within the mycoplasma, TPLO is also one of the part. TPLO is one of the parts. See what I am trying to say here, whatever that mycoplasma bacteria are there, within that mycoplasma, one of the type is TPLO. The size of TPLO is 0.1 micrometer size. Right? And these are grown in anaerobic conditions. These bacteria are grown in anaerobic conditions. See, I like to discuss about this is one of the test tube, right? This is the solution. Some of the bacteria which are grown at the surface of the solution. So definitely these are aerobic bacteria. And some of the bacteria are grown here, right? And these can move up and down. So mostly these are not compulsory anaerobic condition, because sometimes which are growing absence of oxygen, and sometimes which are growing surface, right? See, some of the bacteria are always growing at the bottom of the test tube. Some of the bacteria are growing at the bottom of the test tube. See, these are compulsory grown in anaerobic condition. These are the bacteria which are grown in, these are only grown in anaerobic condition. Remember, see, the mycoplasma, these are the bacteria also only grown in anaerobic condition. So, suppose this is the bacteria. If the bacteria is exposed to air, what happens? If the bacteria exposed to air, what happens? Definitely, see, oxygen enter. Here cell walls are absent. Here cell walls are absent to the bacteria. To the mycoplasma bacteria, cell walls are absent, right? So whatever the oxygen is available within the surroundings, the oxygen is entering inside the bacteria. Then oxygen forms the free radicals. Excess amount of oxygen forms the free radicals. That free radicals damages the plasma membrane, right? And damages the cell organelles and damages the DNA. The bacteria will be dead. See, if the mycoplasma bacteria are exposed to air, the bacteria will be dead because of oxygen toxicity. Excessive oxygen toxicity supporting for the generation of oxygen free radicals. That free radicals are involved in the destruction of plasma membrane and the destruction of cellular organelles and destruction of the genetic material. Finally, the bacteria will be dead. So what I am trying to say here, these bacteria are only grown in anaerobic condition. These bacteria are only grown in anaerobic condition. And remember, most of these bacteria are pathogens. Most of these bacteria are pathogens. I will explain how these are causes the diseases and I will explain. Right? See, coming to the mycoplasma, these are also called jokers of plant kingdom. Mycoplasma, the bacteria are also called jokers of plant kingdom. So why these are called as jokers of plant kingdom? Remember, I already said which are not having the cell wall. So this is the initial shape of the bacteria or initial shape of the mycoplasma bacteria. If the surrounding conditions are altered, the shape is also altered. The shape is also altered. So what I am trying to say here, lack of cell walls, the bacteria according to the surroundings changes the shape. The condition is called as pleomorphic condition. The condition is called as pleomorphic condition. Remember all of you, this is a very important point. Whatever that mycoplasma bacteria are there, that bacteria lack of cell walls, according to the surroundings. According to the surrounding changes, the organism shape is also changed. So that condition is called as pleomorphic condition. That's the reason why these are also called jokers of plant kingdom. Remember, these are not belongs to the plant kingdom, but initial days, which are included in the plant. These bacteria are also included in the plant. That's the reason why the very first name is jokers of the plant kingdom. That's the reason why the mycoplasma bacteria, which are also called jokers of the plant kingdom, the name originated very olden days. That is about that pleomorphic condition and the jokers of the plant kingdom. And the diseases which are caused by the mycoplasma. See, what are the plants are there? In plants, the mycoplasma bacteria are causes the witch's-broom's disease. See, we know about this is about plant, right? These are the big parts are there. Right? So here leaves are present. These are the leaves, right? These are the leaves are there. Right? These are the leaves. And this is the general case of the plant. Once the plant is affected by the mycoplasma bacteria, see, whatever that twigs are there, all these twigs are aggregated. And finally forms the, completely compacted structures are formed. Whatever the leaves are there and whatever the twigs are there, all these are aggregated, and which are forms one of the cluster-like structure. This is one of the cluster-like structure. So here the witches' brooms, we know witch. We have seen some movies of witches are there. When we observe the hair of the witch, see the completely hair is so many number of clustered structures are there. See, based on that, see here, these are also look like, the plant parts also look like that kind of structure. That's the reason why this disease is called as witch's-broom's disease. See, completely these parts are aggregated, which forms the tip part. The tip part forms the broom's-like structure. So that's the reason why this disease is called as witch's-broom's disease. And when the animals pneumonia, we know about the pneumonia, whatever that the lungs of the animals are there. The lungs especially affected, and the lungs accumulated with the fluid-like substance. one of the fluid-like substance, and prevent the exchange of the gases, reduces the oxygen transport. Finally, the animals will be dead. See, within animals, the mycoplasma bacteria causes the pneumonia. We know within the human beings, there is a mycobacterium tuberculosis. It causes, okay, and pneumococcus. Pneumococcus is also there. That one is also causes the pneumonia. See, what I am trying to tell here, different kind of bacteria causes, okay, pneumonia in different organisms. See, some are, see, mycoplasma bacteria within animals causes the pneumonia. Within human beings, there is a pneumococcus bacteria is there, and mycobacterium tuberculosis is there, which also causes the pneumonia disease. And that is nothing but whatever the lungs are there, within the lungs, the fluid-like substance is accumulated and mainly prevents the exchange of the gases. Right? That is about the plants and the animals. And within the human beings, which causes that urethritis disease. The disease is the urethritis and vaginal infections. See, we know we are having that one of the excretory organs are there. Within that excretory organs, the urine passing parts are there. Within that, at center there is a tube-like structure, especially within that male reproductive organs. Within the male reproductive organs, there is a tube-like structure is there. Okay, through the tube-like structure, the urine is passing. So that one is called as urethra. So by these mycoplasma bacteria, the urethra destruction will be takes place. So once the urethra destruction takes place, okay, passage of urine is very, very painful when the person has the urethritis disease. Okay, in that case, the person, okay, when passing the urine, that time getting very, very severe pain. So that disease is called as urethritis. And within the female case, there is a vaginal infections are caused. We know that there is a female reproductive system is there, vagina body is there, some of the secretions are secreted by the vagina. So within that secretion, some of the bacteria are grown. So here the best example is the mycoplasma. Right? So the mycoplasma causes the vaginal infections. All of you remember penicillin. We know about the penicillin. This is one of the antibiotic. So can penicillin act on mycoplasma bacteria or not? Generally, the penicillin mode of action is on cell wall, prevent the cell wall formation. Remember, the mycoplasma bacteria not having the cell wall. So there is no cell wall. Within this bacteria, there is no cell wall, and there is no mode of action of penicillin. Within the mycoplasma bacteria, right? So that is about that mycoplasma, and last one is the actinomycetes, right? We'll discuss one. Coming to the next one is the actinomycetes. Within that actinomycetes, this one is the last one within the kingdom Monera, which forms the branch and filament structures. See, very simple. This is one of the filament structure. Many number of bacteria are aggregated, which forms the filaments, right? And the sum of the filaments means some of the bacteria forms the branches. Some of the bacteria here forms the branches. For suppose this is the one filament, and see in certain cases this one is interacted with few bacteria. Again, it forms the branch structure. So which are having the capacity to form the branches and filament structure, right? And cell wall is present. Remember, in these bacteria, cell walls are present. The composition of the cell wall is the mycolic acids. See what we discussed, the last bacteria, mycoplasma, cell wall is absent. Here cell walls are present, and the composition of the cell wall is the mycolic acids. Right? And that is about the actinomycetes and the cell walls, right? And the bacteria forms the radial colonies. For suppose in the normal bacteria, I like to discuss about first of all, this is a normal, okay, eubacterium. We know about the eubacteria. The eubacterium forms the isolated colonies. The eubacteria forms the isolated colonies. See, these are the isolated colonies. The isolated colonies are formed by the eubacteria. Isolated colonies are formed by the eubacteria. So these are isolated colonies, right? See, coming to the actinomycetes species, here colonies are produced, but these colonies are radial colonies. These colonies are radial colonies. Radial colonies means whatever that bacteria after the streaking process, which forms the radial structures. See, different aggregate structures. See, this kind of colonies are called as radial colonies, which are vastly spread on the surface of the nutrient medium. Which are vastly spread on the surface of the nutrient medium. See, here radial colonies are formed, here isolated colonies are formed. Okay, so within the actinomycetes species, there is a radial colonies production which takes place. And most of these bacteria are the saprophytes. These bacteria are the saprophytes. See, these are the bacteria which are saprophytes, no doubt about it, which are involved in the decomposition process. That's the reason why these are called decomposers. Right? And very few some bacteria within that actinomycetes which act like parasites. Corynebacterium diphtheriae, that is the one of the species, it produces the diphtheria toxin. We know that toxic substances act on that GI tract, gastrointestinal tract, and some obstructions are generated, right? That is about that Corynebacterium. And in certain cases, other species of Corynebacterium also act on the respiratory tract. Right? That is about the Corynebacterium and the toxic substance, diphtheria toxin. Right? And most of these bacteria species produces the antibiotics. Remember, the main advantage of the actinomycetes species to human beings. Okay, these are majorly produces the antibiotics. Means what we are having the antibiotics are there, majority of the antibiotics are producing from the actinomycetes species. Majority of the antibiotics are producing from the actinomycetes species, right? So that is about that different types of Monera subclasses we discussed, subtypes we discussed, right? So that is about the actinomycetes. Next class we will discuss about the protista.